Over the world.
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 I warmly welcome you to my new channel, and I hope with all my heart that you will have a good time here. And if you feel fun while watching my channel, please click on the like button and subscribe to the channel. This new channel was opened for 2 reasons. The first, to make you feel entertained, learn, have fun and discover new things. Second, to help my parents pay for my university studies. Thanks for your time.
Movies are entertainment or documentaries that aim to tell a story, and the story is presented from the point of view of the narrator, and therefore it will inevitably be subject to his beliefs and biases. We always watch documentaries and we believe that what they present to us is the sap of years of research and experiences, and that the information in them has been studied and refuted until it was completely verified. But what we do not know is that these films are not only sometimes wrong, but sometimes they deliberately state false information or exaggerate correct information. The reasons for doing so vary. That is why we prove to you today that documentaries can sometimes lie to us, and despite this, their authors win Oscar and Nobel Peace Prizes. Today we review 10 documentaries that lied to us. 1. The 1958 White Wilderness documentary. One of us thinks that the world of Disney is a gentle and kind world, but the truth is that there are many dark sides in this world, and one of them is the documentary White Wilderness, specifically the part about the polar rabbit, which is known as lemming in English. The Arctic hare is a rodent, a short-tailed field mouse that prefers to live in the tundra and in open grasslands. Disney showed it in its documentary in a scene depicting a group of these animals committing suicide en masse from a cliff into the ocean, and this information has been promoted for a long time. This documentary was shown in 1958, but there was no investigation into the information mentioned in it until 1983, and the investigation process was led by Canadian Broadcasting Corporation producer Brian Valley. The Valley investigation revealed that the rabbit's suicide was a fabricated scene, as the documentary was filmed in Alberta, Canada, a landlocked area completely free of rodents. He also discovered that the documentary's producers had purchased the animals from Inuit children who lived in provinces such as Manitoba. The clip about the rabbit in the documentary states, "Small rodents gather to migrate and scramble. They are struck by strange hysteria and each falls to a strange fate." But the only weird thing is how and why did these people collect these rodents, put them on a rotating platform, and then drive them to death? 2. What the Health 2017 documentary. In 2017, Netflix released a documentary that caused many people to doubt their diet and take the decision to switch to vegetarianism into consideration. Some of them even became angry because their parents had allowed them to eat disgraceful foods such as eggs and meat when they were children. Kip Anderson directed and starred in the documentary, and it is certain that Anderson and co-director Keegan Cohen's intention was to explain the relationship between diet and disease and help Americans make healthy food choices. There is no doubt that the epidemics of obesity, diabetes and heart disease have been caused in part by the types of foods we eat in large quantities. But criticism of the program stems from the large number of false information that was mentioned in it. We mentioned some of them. For example, the documentary talked about eating eggs as bad as smoking cigarettes and drinking milk causes cancer. Anderson talks about the fact that eating processed meat is tantamount to smoking cigarettes and bases his words on a report issued by the World Health Organization, which linked eating processed meat to an increase in the rate of cancer. But Anderson exaggerated the percentage, as the World Health Organization spoke about 1% that a person eats meat manufactured on a daily basis, while Anderson mentioned in his film that the percentage is up to 18%. It is also mentioned in the documentary that eating 1 egg a day is equal to smoking 5 cigarettes, due to the high level of cholesterol in eggs. But his words are based on old information, as recent research indicates that the effects of eggs cannot be compared to the effects of cigarettes. National nutrition experts recently declared that cholesterol in foods such as eggs is not a nutrient of concern. 3. An Inconvenient Truth 2006 documentary. This documentary won an Oscar in 2006, and it helped host Al Gore, the 45th former Vice President of the United States, win the 2007 Nobel Peace Prize. The film highlights climate change and its effects, the inevitable global warming, and the human role in all of this. While Gore was right about these and most of the information he provided, some problems arose. The first problem concerned Supreme Court Justice Burden's criticism of the film, highlighting what he called 9 scientific errors. The judge spoke of the former deputy's exaggeration in raising many cases, in order to support his own views, including it linked to the increase in temperatures and the reduction in the size of Mount Kilimanjaro, and the fact is that this happens due to the massive deforestation. Another thing Gore got wrong is Dr. Thompson's thermometer, where Al Gore is referring to a temperature graph attributed to Dr. Thompson when in fact the graph is a combination of a hockey stick chart, Mann 1998, and Hadcrat measurements, Jones 1999. However, the main point that temperatures are higher now than they were during the medieval warm period is correct. Gore also exaggerated his claim that the increasing sea level rise due to the melting of West Antarctica or Greenland will reach more than 7 meters in the near future. And the judge agreed that if Greenland's ice melted, it would actually produce that much water, but the truth is that it will not happen very soon, it will take more than 1,000 years. Gore's exaggeration makes the film more of a politicized production than educational about what's really going on. 4. The Great Global Warming Swindle 2007 documentary. This documentary describes the problem of global warming as a political agenda only, and it comes with ideas contrary to the documentary, Al Gore, which we mentioned earlier, in an attempt to deny that humans have any relationship with the increase in global temperatures, and the main problem lies in it being based on the sayings and research of people who have proven that they were on error. The film talks about the fact that the main cause of warming is not the rise in the proportion of greenhouse gases, but rather because of the sun and its change in its activity. The documentary bases its argument on a study by Danish atmospheric physicist Drive, Egil Friis Christensen, who said that recent temperature differences on Earth remarkably well correspond to the length of the solar cycle. It was later discovered and a research paper was published in 2004 that the relationship is just an error in the physical calculations and is unfounded. The film also emphasizes the idea that global warming is man-made, and can be refuted by conflicting temperature data. The film uses Professor John Christie to talk about the discrepancy he has discovered between temperatures on the Earth's surface and temperatures in the troposphere, or lower atmosphere. But the program failed to state that in 2005 the professor's statements were proven wrong by 3 research papers published in the journal Science. Christie himself admitted in 2006 that he was wrong, but the documentary makers ignored this admission. The documentary made matters worse when the film's producers misused the sayings of scholars who participated in the documentary to make their statements in the interest of the film's agendas. 5. The 13th documentary of 2016. The idea of the documentary is that slavery still exists in the USA to this day. Eva DeVeroni bases her film around the idea that the 13th Amendment, which outlaws slavery, was deliberately crafted with a loophole designed to continue the mass enslavement of blacks using indirect means, hence the movie's name. Although the documentary raises important points and sheds light on fundamental issues, it exaggerated many of the numbers and documents it presented, and even falsified some of them, which distorts the purpose of the documentary in one way or another. The film argues that following the passage of the new amendment, arrest rates increased and prisons began to be filled with inmates, the majority of whom are black, but statistics indicate that arrest rates have declined among African Americans as well as in general. DeVorny also says in her film that although males of African descent make up 6.5% of the American population, they make up 40.2% of the inmates in American prisons. The truth is that DeVorny did not provide any evidence or sources to confirm its allegations, and the real percentage of 33% is still large. But what is the reason for the exaggeration of DeVorny? It seems that the film was trying to focus on angering feelings instead of giving accurate information. 6. Super Size Me 2004 documentary. This documentary prompted the fast food company, McDonald's, to change its menu to include salads to make it look healthier. We can't claim that fast food restaurants serve nutritious food, but the problem with the documentary is that it evaluates the impact of these foods on one person and generalizes it to everyone. The documentary depicts 30 days of the life of the director and hero of the film, Morgan Spurlock, in which he eats nothing but food from McDonald's and is examined during the documentary to prove the extent of the harm of these foods. Spurlock ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner from the restaurant, and he averaged 5,000 calories a day. During the film, Spurlock talked about his feelings of depression, which he used to get rid of by eating more McDonald's food. His doctor described him as addicted to these foods. Spurlock's energy levels and libido plummeted as a result of his diet, and by day 21, he developed symptoms of heart palpitations. Spurlock made a huge public impression on his movie and was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature. The truth is that Spurlock deliberately chose foods full of saturated fats and fat, and cut back on any physical activity. In a later statement, he revealed that for 30 years, he had been addicted to alcohol, which worsened the results of his medical examinations. 7. Bowling for Columbine documentary 2002. The film is related to the shooting incident at Columbine High School. The documentary focuses on the question, why is there so much violence in America? While shedding light on an important issue, the director exaggerated many statistics and facts, which prompted many people to criticize the documentary. In one of the scenes, Morgan enters a bank that has placed an ad in the newspaper motivating people to open an account with them by offering a gift, and the gift here is a completely free gun. As strange as the offer is, but that wasn't enough for Morgan, who decided to exaggerate the procedures even more, as if they were too simple, as if anyone could get into the bank and open an account by signing a paper and getting a gun. But the truth is that the film's producers did not show viewers or tell them that all the paperwork and documents had already been filled out, and that the delivery of the gun had been arranged to appear ready and waiting for Morgan. Morgan also promoted his own agendas and beliefs through a cartoon he posted in the film. One could argue that the movie is sarcastic and shouldn't be taken seriously, but in fact, even if it is sarcastic, it is full of lies and deceit. The clip depicts the racist Ku Klux Klan and the NRA as one and the same. The clip also claims that the purpose behind the creation of the suburbs was racist. Morgan is known in his films for his love of finding forms of racism in everything, even if it doesn't exist. 8. Man vs. Wild documentary from 2006 to 2012. The documentary, titled in Arabic for Survival, depicts its British adventurer hero, Bear Grylls, abandoned in the wilderness, starving and sleeping in the open without a home. But a contributor to the show later revealed that Grylls was not the hero he appeared to be in the documentary. Grylls is airlifted into the wilderness with a few tools to help him in the battle for survival, where he spends many days in the wilderness with nothing but a rarity like a flint or a water bottle. Grylls has spent days in places like the Utah Moab Desert and the Costa Rican rainforest. However, Discovery Communications revealed that the isolated locations in the program were not truly isolated, and that the staff and host were assisted and secured for their health and safety. Grylls claimed in his documentary, while filming was taking place on a secluded island in Hawaii, that he was the Robinson Crusoe of the era, but the truth emerged, that he had spent several nights in a hotel. On another occasion, the adventurer in one of the episodes builds his own buoy with what was available in nature around him, but among the charges leveled against Grylls was that he did not actually build the buoy, but all he did was reassemble it after specialists built it for him and from then take it apart. It is worth noting that Grylls admitted the falsification that took place on his program, and he stated that the upcoming parts will be free of lies and will be transparent and frank with the fans and followers. 9. Gasland documentary 2010. The film begins with Josh Fox, a filmmaker and property owner in northeastern Pennsylvania, as a gas company makes an offer to lease his land in order to drill for gas. Fox decides to interview people who have been affected by the same thing. The film was produced by HBO and was nominated for an Oscar, but the film, as expected, did not appeal to the owners of the companies, which accused Fox of falsification and misrepresentation. But far from these companies and their interests, the film actually contains false information and promotes propaganda more than it presents the facts. At first, Fox talks about his family's land in Pennsylvania, and tries to make himself seem like he's a local in the area. In fact, many people in nearby lands have confirmed that Fox doesn't live there and that his family is just vacationing. Then, Fox stated the value of the amount that the gas company paid him for drilling, which he said amounted to $100,000, to confirm once again that his neighbors were exaggerating the amount. But all this exaggeration is nothing in the face of the facts that Fox is falsifying. The documentary highlights the seriousness of the fracturing process and emphasizes that it causes groundwater pollution, but in fact, there have been no confirmed cases of groundwater contamination in the million applications of the process over 60 years. According to the director of the Department of Oil and Gas in the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, he stated that there is no direct impact of the fracturing process on fresh groundwater. Fox says no one knows what goes into fracking fluid, but in fact Pennsylvania laws require companies to disclose all chemicals used in the fracking process, without mentioning the specific formula for proprietary protection. On the DEP website, there is a list of fracking fluid components, of which more than 98% are water and sand, and the remaining 2% are materials that have little impact on humans and the environment. In his documentary, Fox also mentioned that the residents of Texas had fallen ill due to pollution from nearby drilling. But the Texas Department of Health Services announced the results of its own test for residents, DASH, revealing that residents' exposure to some pollutants was no greater than that of the general U.S. population. 10. Cowspiracy Documentary 2014. In general, the documentary talks about the pollution caused by emissions from livestock, especially cows, and its great damage to the environment and its contribution to global warming. He blames the meat eaters for the quality of their diet and its direct impact on destroying the land. The documentary indicates that the pollution resulting from raising cows amounts to approximately 51% of emissions to the Earth as a whole, while comparing this percentage with the emissions resulting from all forms of transportation and communications, which amount to 13%. One insufficient study that was later proven wrong by the person who conducted it. The United Nations estimated the real percentage is at 14%, which is still, of course, greater than that issued by means of transport. The filmmakers later returned to say that the real percentage is 18% instead of 51%, and no one was able to understand why they did not recognize the reality that actually exists according to many studies and research. The film also has the opposite effect, denouncing the use of animals in any type of agriculture, and tarnishing the image of regenerative agriculture in its campaign against intensive farming. There is now an overwhelming amount of evidence from around the world that the herds of animals grazing on Earth are not only sustainable, but can fertilize soils, enrich ecosystems, support biodiversity and sequester huge amounts of atmospheric carbon in the soil, which in fact is perhaps the best tool we have to quickly reverse climate change. And by promoting the dangers of raising livestock, it is obscuring those benefits. In the end, films are entertainment or documentaries that aim to tell a story, and the story is presented from the point of view of the narrator, and therefore it will inevitably be subject to his beliefs and biases. The next time you watch a documentary, be sure to check that the information if it is correct.